So like it is very, and I guess I'm a sadist, maybe.
Or no, I don't think so. I think I mean, part of it is always just keeping me on my toes. You made up the world and it was all your baby, so to speak. But like, we never called you the dungeon master. You were playing with us also. You're with me also. Like I mean, so that's why I hesitate to call your characters NPCs. Like they weren't non-player characters. You're just also playing the game.
Speaking of sadist, there's one more unit we haven't talked about.
Yes, the one that dies all the time.
These guys over here, which we first talked about with the mud and the blood and on their uniforms and stuff, you can even see this guy. He's got claw marks on his uniform. These are the little bastards. Now you'll see they're more geared up. That started because they came from dropship infantry. Again, Valen having space fleets, not really wanting Marines, or maybe they have Space Marines as well, but they wanted some sort of infantry that's quickly deployable to go and help any trade deal that was going bad, drop onto a planet, kick some butt, and then pull out. So drop ships were a big piece of the Valen army. That's why they kind of weren't really used in the early phase of the war, and they got quickly tangled up in something else. And I'll go ahead and share just a little bit about who these guys are right now. We had this side campaign going on to the main campaign, and it was introduced early on. I love sci-fi horror. I love aliens, but I didn't want my
Starship Troopers. It's all inspired by that kind of.
I didn't want that to be the only focus of the campaign, so we kind of diverted away, and there was this other invasion that was going on with these evil forces, and that's what ended up happening to the little bastards here. And oof. If you want a good comparison, it's the World War II American bomber pilots that would go out in these daylight raids, and it was so bad that they made them a deal. Hey, if you make it through 12 missions, you don't have to do this anymore. That's what these
we mentioned it before, but kind of catch-22.
Very catch-22.
And they just kept upping the missions. Now I have to do 70 missions.
13, lucky 13. If they made it through 17 missions in real game time, they didn't have to.
Yes,
they didn't have to be.
That was the key. It was real games we were playing. It wasn't like, and then they did 4 more missions. It was like every time was real. And like I mean, I had characters that were like they would get like this close and die. Oh man, so many times. I mean, like man, that was dark. You're twisted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A little bit of
this old Flash toy, and I don't. Don, you claim you have a name for him. I don't remember if I ever named him. I don't remember that.
His name is Shibbity-Bidoo.
Yeah, exactly. So Flash was one of my early characters. We used to call them bug hunters because again, kind of Starship Trooper.
Very much xenomorphs, aliens, bugs. Yeah, absolutely.
But we called them bug hunters. We switched it to creeps later. Like they found out very quickly that. Their blood was toxic and there was all kinds of poisons around these types of entities like all the time. So like he very haphazardly in one mission like put cloth over his face so he could breathe. And yes, later on, as you can see that the guy standing next to him, we started employing gas mask. Goodbye, Wolf. I just loved the cloth and I never took it off him. I was just like, just pretend he's got a gas mask on. Like I love the piece of cloth in there. I'm never taking that. But he actually missioned out, kind of like unheard of. Like you didn't make it through 13 missions with creeps and like survive.
That's right.
He was my first one.
Do you know why he made it though? Because they had a buddy contract, and if you signed a contract with your buddy and your buddy died, you got
his missions. Yeah,
so
you got
his best friend died, and then he was able to get out,
and he lived. So and by the way, barely.
Yeah,
barely lived. I think they both. I remember them signing that contract together when they were on like mission 3 or 4 or something like that. So like if one of them died, they'd be at like 8. But then they kept living for a while longer. So like I think they got to like mission 4, like 5 or 6, you know, closer. And when he died, he got all those missions. He still had one more mission to go or something like that. And it was like, oh my God, if he dies on this mission, it's gonna be tragic. That was early though. Like I think they survive more now, I would say.
We'll see. We drove this campaign. We drove 2 campaigns. And then by the third, we started a third one. And it was some sort of like very cataclysmic type where all sorts of things were happening on, but we kind of petered out. Life happened. We had kids. I moved to Korea, like just all sorts of things, right? So it kind of petered out. But I was like, hey, you know what we need to do? We need to do a refresh. We need to do a DC Rebirth, or what's the newest one that they've gone through? Not New 52, not Rebirth.
Infinite Frontier.
Infinite Frontier, right? So we need to refresh this. We're going to go all the way back. Instead of regenerating new characters and jumping forward to new war, let's hit the refresh button and let's go back and just do this again, but applying a lot of like advanced technology and a lot of story editing and things that we know now, right? Dabbling into that now where we're retconning some things. So, and new toy lines have come out. Like the Joy Toy figures are perfect to add into our dropship troopers and little bastards, right? And then on the same note as the private companies, like let's start there. If the Valens were traders, let's actually start Griffin out with the red tarantulas. And you can see I've got some Marauders, Gunrunners mixed with some of the red Viper troopers from Resolute, and those kind of blended together there. That's kind of where we're going this iteration now. And we're going to continue developing, rebranding the old units that we had. And that's kind of where we're going to end up going with this. We're going to continue developing the characters on the shelf, adding new toy lines that we have. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more of us deep dive these units, go ahead and click this video as we explore the characters and the history of each one of these and show off some more of our great toys. I've been Dom.
I'm Joe.
Thanks for watching.